The use of a deadly drug is on the rise in the UP. Fox UP reporter Rachel Droz is in the studio to tell us about the journey of addiction in part one of her three-part series. Rachel, tell us about what you found out.
Well, Ben, according to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, prescription opioid pain medications are currently among the most commonly abused drugs in the United States. And these addictions can potentially pave the way to much harder street drugs.
We've gotten to be such a pill-pushing society that we're creating these addicts.
In 2012, the Michigan Department of Community Health reported the opioid painkiller hydrocodone, or Vicodin, accounted for roughly 32% of all controlled substance prescriptions in Michigan. Opioid painkillers are highly addictive, and research now suggests misuse of these drugs may open the door to heroin abuse.
The street value of a Vicodin, the last class I took, is almost $15 to $30 for one Vicodin. But they can shoot up heroin for $10 and get a much better high.
And that's what worries law enforcement in the UP.
We've seen a huge increase in heroin use, and actually the country actually has as well. We've also seen it up here in the Upper Peninsula.
A recovering heroin addict from Iron Mountain, Michigan shares her battle with addiction, but she asks Fox UP to hide her identity due to ongoing legal matters. She says alcohol and prescription pills open the door to much harder drugs, which consumed her life for almost a decade.
It was a recreational thing to use other things other than drinking. It was getting old. So, snorting things here and there, prescription pills.
But she was surrounded by much harder drugs.
There was people shooting up in my house, using needles everywhere. And at that time, I was totally against it. But my kid's dad encouraged me to have an open mind about it.
In time, she gave in to the peer pressure.
For some reason, I was addicted to the needle itself. I tried the morphine first, and then it jumped into heroin. My brother was addicted as well. Me and him both in and out of being locked up, and here I have, these children that need to be taken care of. But I wasn't getting it. I thought I could party and still be a mom.
At first, a person using heroin may be able to function normally in society, but soon the drug takes over.
You might not see it at first, but over a period of time, they're going to be hurting for their drug. They're going to be hurting to get up in the morning, and they're not going to be able to do it until they have heroin.
I quit my job to stay at home and use.
And eventually, addiction took everything from her.
I had my children taken, and at that point I was so far gone, I started using the bath salts, and that right there was on a whole nother level. I can remember a time where I was so messed up that I did not even remember a court hearing, and my rights were terminated. And that I can't take back.
Detective Lieutenant Tim Scholander from the Upper Peninsula Substance Enforcement Team says if you're missing spoons around the house or you're finding spoons with a powdery residue on them laying around, then be aware because these could be signs of heroin abuse. Also, finding needles when there's no medical need for them is another red flag.
Now, obviously, this is a three-part series, so what are we going to be covering tomorrow night in our second part?
Well, tomorrow we'll be looking at the legal ramifications of heroin abuse, so be sure to tune in tomorrow at 10/9 Central on Fox UP.
All right, thanks, Rachel.